Good morning from Australia and welcome to Marty's Garden, a live channel which has probably been, people have been waiting for this for quite some time, I would say. Look, the weather has been absolutely shocking here where I live on the East Coast, not getting a lot done out in the garden, but growing enough food to put some stuff on the table. And like everyone else, battling with raising prices of inflation. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is how to get through these rough and tough times, inflation, interest rates going up, if depending on where you are in the world, certain parts of recession and even worse than that. So oh yeah, it's a tricky one. So anyway, look, I'm going to welcome some people in as they roll in. I haven't done a live show for quite some time, so I'm not expecting a lot of people here to turn up today because it's a sporadic one. Gave you 1 hour's notice. Now I've got to get used to putting across the text and using the software again, so bear with me a little bit. And there's my father, Arthur Thomas. Where are you, Marty? You're already a minute late. Good one, mate. I'm always late when it comes to the show by at least a minute because I drink my cup of tea, I do a quick prayer, and then I'm into it, Like, I love doing my shows when I get the chance. And I was going to film out at the Bale garden, but it's just wet again outside. And look, the weather hasn't really been that great, but it's okay for growing some things like some lettuce and some things that cool weather crops. And it's going to be actually a cooler spring than normal, they're saying, so possibly be growing those crops even longer into what we would here on the north coast, where I live, just in the Byron Shire. Now firstly, I just want to welcome everyone for coming in, and people who are coming to watch the reruns. What we're going to be talking about is getting more self-sufficient in lots of different ways. You don't have to have this big space to actually be able to create stores of value, and that's what we're going to talk about in time. And really, that's what's kept me alive. I'm a low-income earner. I earn a very low income, but I've learned about stores of value over the years, and it's helped me to get to where I am, and plus some blessings along the way, including this house, which I'm filming. Don't have a studio at the moment. I'm filming in my room, bed in the corner, clothes rack up there, and we're doing it really farm style, straight from the room. So, g'day, Pinball Wizard. Nice to see you here. If you're just rolling in, give us a big thumbs up. Really helps get the algorithm going, let people know that already watched Marty's Garden Show. It'll put a thumbnail in front of them and show them that we are up and running, and more people will come in and join. So I've got my little list here. Normally I have a bigger piece of paper. I'm getting more efficient with my little pads here, and what I'm going to do is go through my lists so I don't miss anything. So creating stores of value and becoming more self-sufficient. We can do that in lots of different ways. One way I do it is by growing food, and that store of value is by me keeping my costs down to be able to grow this food and then not having to run off, spend fuel. I live very close to the shops now, so I can walk if I like, but drive fuel to the shop, spend my time going around, and then really not always getting what I want, because there isn't a lot of really good food around, and lettuce and stuff like that has just been off the charts for expensive. And so I've just been pretty much growing my own. I think I've probably bought about 10% of greens from the shop. So hopefully I can share some value with you guys and move through and give you an idea of what I'm doing, and then you can implement it somehow in a way to help you back at home. So say g'day to Mountaintop Wigglers. Good evening, Marty, and yeah, welcome to the show, mate. Thanks for coming. And Bendigo Fruit Trees. Hey, Marty, good to see you again. Good to see you too, my friend. Cheers to that. And you're probably wondering what everyone's going, oh, I don't want to ask him about his nose. Well, I'll let you know early in, because look, when I moved back to Byron Shire, right, and I love this place. I've been surfing here most of my life, but the one place has gotten really crowded, and I shouldn't have went out. There's a lot of beginners and sort of beginner intermediate people, swell was up running sort of a bit, and they probably shouldn't be out there really, to be honest, but they do. And there's no etiquette in the water anymore. Like, it's just mayhem. I knew the risk when I went out, and I got speared straight between the in here on the side here. I got 5 stitches. The nose surfboard went into my nose and to the bone, broke my nose, some fractures and things, and here we are. So taking antibiotics and just hanging at home, keeping it clean, and covered over. And I even put this on this morning myself. I did a better job than the doctor. He did a bodgy job putting one on. I did one better myself this morning. Had a haircut. Things are a little bit different. And yeah, it's like, it is what it is. So I know you're just going to keep looking at the nose. Now you know what it is. Surfing accident. I've had a few of them in my life, and I've come out pretty good so far. But this one was really dangerous. If I hit me in the eye, probably could have killed me, because it was so deep, and I had bits of surfboard stuck in my nose. It would have penetrated right through my eye to the back. So blessings from above that did not happen. It missed my eye, and I'm still here to make another show for you guys. So let's get into it. Let's get rolling. Stores of value by growing food and other things. Now, what is a store of value? Well, a store of value is something that can't be hassled by inflation, or if inflation is attacking it, your value goes up with the inflation. So an example could be, we used to use gold a lot, but that's sort of not really doing as good as what it used to be. So let's look at some lettuce, right? Now, if you're growing a nice big bunch of lettuce, and it's costing $5 to $6, maybe $7 or more, which used to be $2.50, that value of that lettuce is worth $5 to you if it's $5 in the shop now, if you think of it like that. So if you were to sell it to someone else or trade it to someone else, it's worth a value of $5, not $2.50 like it was before. So, and then you can stack on top of your value. Now, how do we do that? Well, what we need to do is we need to create systems that keep on giving. When we create systems that keep on giving and build up and get better and better and better, the store of value becomes more powerful and it gives more. And so, and when you get more coming to you, you can give out more, and then just good things happen when you start giving, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you something on the screen first, just where I am, if I can get this right, and get this onto the screen. So let's show the source. We'll go share screen. And look, this is when I first started my Bale garden. Now, you would have seen some videos I've been doing about that. I was going to do some updates on it. But it's just the weather's been so bad, and I've been working at the school and different things going on. And every time I go to film, it hasn't really been happening for me. So I'm doing this. It's a colder style. Most of them do a hot type of composting. I do a cold method, and it works really well. And I've got lettuce just pouring out everywhere now, out of about 5 bales, lettuce and rocket, and some peas. The peas that you can see here on the side, they're already about 2 feet high, I guess, and the whole bales are just covered in lettuce now. But what we'll do, I don't have any new photos, because I said I was going to film outside today, then it started raining, and so I didn't keep any photos. But what I want to do is I want to go back to see if we can get this image up here and show you. Hopefully you can see that well. Let me know if you can see that okay coming through. Now, what these are straw bale gardens. So if you go into Google and you type in straw bale gardens, you can see what they're doing. Now, the bales have gone up quite a lot since COVID, unfortunately, but and not everyone can get them. I understand that if you live in the city and things like that. But if you listen to the show and we're talking about stores of value and growing food and some other things, we're talking about worm farming and building soils and all that type of stuff, then you'll get a real understanding of it. Now, in the right-hand corner here, you can see around the black frame, that's a tomato garden, right? And so it's got it all framed up around the outside. They'll have tomatoes pouring out. Now, just imagine this, right? As this, and I've done this over and over and over. This works absolutely brilliant. It's a great store of value for your soil, because once you get your soil going really well, and your soil's becoming more alive with more microbiology, your plants just get healthier and healthier and less pest resistant and produce more and more food faster and healthier and tastier. It's just the honest truth. It's just what it does, right? So as we're doing this, we're building these soils underneath. Now, I don't like how they've got black plastic underneath. That's going totally against what I do. We want the worms and things coming up underneath. We want that good bacteria coming up underneath. We want the fungi coming up. I've got mushrooms growing out of my bales now, which I just go, yes, I know, because then I know that the soil is becoming alive, full of microbiology, a living soil. And that's what's starting to feed the plants then, is this photosynthesis to the leaves, sharing the sugars down below, the microbes, then releasing all the nutrients and building up the soil profile for you, and all the worms and different things are coming in. So yeah, it's a really good way to go, and it's just another store of value. Like Pinball Wizard said here, cracking method works for lettuce a treat. Of 50 large glass jars set up for rotation, not getting it all at once, but maybe give it a cheap go, cheap and functional. I totally agree with that. And you can go and see Mike Van Doozy. He has everything on cheap beginners. Good friend of mine. We're just chatting the other day, only 2 days ago. And man, he is the cracky wizard and small style cheap hydroponics. So check him out, Mike Van Doozy. Hey, Clara, thanks for coming in, and nice to see you here. And yeah, welcome to the show. Clara actually teaches YouTubers how to grow channels. And look, Faces of Gippsland. Is the plastic underneath necessary? No, as I said before, get rid of that stuff. I absolutely hate it. It's all through my old garden here where I live, underneath the soil. It rots. It's hard to lift out. It kills. Oh, it's man. It's just no good. You don't want it. Use if you want to do it in the beginning, use cardboard and newspaper. It'll eventually rot down. It'll stop the weeds and things coming through until eventually you're smothering it with your plants, and then the weeds and things don't exist anymore. So we'll just go back to my image here and have a look at that. And you can see, like, there's a little bit of grass down below me. I've got cardboard underneath my feet. I've got my pot plants up against the wall here. Now, the reason why you can see this white wall, that's reflecting all that winter light back onto this, and keeping this little avocado tree alive. We've got there's a lime, some tomatoes, and I've got also a mandarin. And at the back, I've got a mango and some other trees growing there. So slowly setting it up. But what I'm doing is I'm just building my space in squares and using the space as much as possible. Eventually, I'll plant strawberries into the side around there. This will start rotting down, and then I will maybe do another bale on top, maybe not, but I'll be planting papaya trees up here in this corner here, because I'll get all the light coming over the wall. Cold winds are stopping from coming from the south, because this faces east-northeast, and it traps the heat in there. It's absolutely perfect. And I'm using the chickens also. Occasionally I put them on the side with the coop, and they just kick around in there for a little bit, or they walk through and give it a bit of a stir up. As long as they don't grab any of the extra food that I've got, I make sure I'm standing there with them while they're doing that. And yeah, it's the way to go. Now, Clara, the white wall is such a great idea for extra light. Simple but great. Yeah, you need to have, people always think it's like the silver. It's actually not. It's like cream and flat white. Reflects the best light and creates more heat. And so anywhere where you're in a cold area, or you need to grow things that sort of want to keep really warm, yeah, it's a good way to do it. And I find it works quite well for me. It's a small space at the moment, but I'm building it out. And eventually if I do turn this place into a farm and it goes in that direction, if I have extra help and stuff, then I'll have big long rows of bales, and then I'll have like the sort of like the poles going straight up and some type of vertical support. So I was going to put raised beds gardens in, but I don't know if I'll do that now. And then just fence those areas off, let the chickens through when it's finished, go all into it, and then just go again and build the soils up. And it will really put a lot of good biology and sort of like composting on top of the soil. and building those soil profiles up. And this yard within a couple of years it'd be like nothing people have ever seen. And I don't mean to brag like that, but I just know how good it works. And it does take a little bit of money at the beginning, but once you're set up, it's really good. And so I'm creating a store of value in the soil by creating really good soils, and then just introducing sort of by doing worm farming. So the worm farming is also a part of that. So on the side of this, where you can see this image here, I'm going to put another one of like the biggest worm farms ever, a smaller one, just a small barrel, and that'll sit at the end. And I'll throw chicken manure and cardboard in there from my chickens, bit of cow manure, bit of some scraps. I've seen a rat up the back, so I'm not into throwing scraps out too much unless the chickens eat it. Turn the chicken poo into fertilizer by putting cardboard underneath where they perch, and then grabbing that out and putting it back into the worm farms and sitting the worm farms beside these bales. And what happens is the worms go down. I've already seen worms inside this bale. I've released some into the bales already, but I haven't got dedicated worm farms beside the bale where I feed that area just for the worms. Then they move out through the system, and then the whole thing becomes self-sufficient. I'm not buying any fertilizer or anything. It's just from the chickens, whatever's coming out from my composting, and that's it. Occasionally I might grab some minerals, like some rock dust or something like that, or some seaweed mineral to introduce that I don't think may be here. But what I do is I look at the leaves on the plants and I can tell what minerals are missing, such as like if we're getting like yellow veins and things like that, we know that could be iron, could be magnesium, things like that. We're getting slow growth, not yellowing leaves, could be nitrogen. So looking at those type of things to see what's missing, looking if there's any like the biology activity, and you're pulling it out. Is there worms around? Are there centipedes around? Are there spiders? Does the soil look like lots of living organisms and things? We know that it's happening then, and yeah, and go for it. So here we go. Pinball ducks are easier to look after than hens. They don't wreck the gardens or plants. Well, yeah, whichever way you go. I just really like chickens. My daughter and I really get into them, and we've got 5 now. So one of them's called, got brown one, painful, mathematics, fatso, and I can't forget the other one's name, but we give them all funny names to do with their personality. Just need your hat, mate. Yeah, cheers. In the room, not good for the hat. You won't see my face from the light, and I don't have the studio set up really well. But yeah, totally get it. Got my hat on in the shot though, and the old one, she's just about done and dusted these days. She's yeah, looking a bit floppy. If I wear it around town, the kids laugh at me. These say I look like a gnome or something, which is pretty funny. Yeah, good names for the chickens. Especially Mathematics got the name because she was the cleverest, so we called her Mathematics. She was the smartest one, still is. And they're really friendly now. Karen can pick them up and just walk them around the yard. They're just really content, and yeah, they're great. We're getting 4 to 5 eggs a day now. So yeah, giving them away, blessing people with the eggs, and using everything else. They're in cleaning up all the weeds and keeping the grass down and fertilizing and a bit of tilling and stuff. So pretty happy about that. Right, I've got my notes here. Don't want to get too far off track, because what I want to do is help you try and get through these tougher times. So I want you to think about, stores of value. To me, a chicken is a store of value. As long as you can feed it successfully in a cheap way without being more costly than buying eggs, and then you're one step ahead, because time is also an essence, a factor. So we need to factor that in as well. But we're getting 4 to 5 eggs a day now, and cost us not that much for the food. I think we'll probably go 2 months in a barrel of food for $40. We get scraps from the neighbours. They free range around the yard, and also they just eat sort of whatever's around, whatever we're throwing sort of in the coop and stuff. And you can, like what else we do I'll do in the future is start sprouting grains as well. It's a cheaper way to get the food in. And so, for me, we're not eating all those eggs, but I just feel like just giving them away at the moment. and that's really blessing others. And I've got some friends that are going through some tough times at the moment because of what we're talking about. So just giving someone a dozen eggs is like, to them, it's, it's a little saving, and also it just brings some good vibes into their life, Um, and yeah, for sure. Nothing beats fresh eggs. You can't eat gold, but you sure can eat carrots and spuds and greens. I totally agree. Rosemary Ryan, Jamie M, hello, welcome, and nice to see you. Well, thank you. Nice to see you too. And so, other things couldn't, it maybe not be gardening, like what we need to look at is like with inflation, I've noticed that some things are holding their store of value. And I think as people are losing, like worried about money and things like, they're going to go out and sell a whole lot of stuff. But say an example like a camera that's maybe 4 or 5 years old that was say $200 a year ago is still worth $200 now, even with inflation. So I would recommend that so that you don't sell that item. You hang on to it for a while and then sell it later if you get in a real lot of bother. But it'll go up with the inflation, because if you sell it now and then inflation takes off, that dollar's just become worth even less, if that makes any sense. So you can hang on to things, little gold coins, gold jewelry, silver coins, things like this. Anything that holds a store of value, we can hang on to that. Or if you see something and you go, wow, I'll buy that, that's a really good store of value. As an example, the rich people, and you would know this, the really wealthy have been in the last couple of years going out and buying a lot of land. If you watch, economics and things like that, you'd know that some of the richest guys in the world have been going out and buying a lot of the land all through the States and things, the guy from Microsoft and all that, even through Australia. And they know it because they knew inflation was coming, right? So they buy the land and they store their money in the value of the land. So, as an asset. So we just need to look at anything that we can for a store of value that's going to help us through these tough times, and possibly you can sell it later. If you don't have to sell it, then hang on to it. Hang on to that little asset that you've got. Okay, so how do we keep going self-sufficient, keep building up our stores of value? It's in the place and space that we are. So if we can make things better all the time and build it up, like I've been a renter, and my last space was just all sand. I built this amazing garden, and you would just go out later on and just plant something in there, it would grow, because I built these amazing soils using composting and worm farming. And so you can do that by, bringing in worm farming into your place and introducing it. Now, I know not everyone likes it. You don't have to get your hands in with all the worms like I do. You can wear some gloves and things. You really don't have to touch it much if you don't want to. There's lots of simple ways to do it. But you're using that. So you've gone out, you bought some food. You bought some compost, not some compost. You bought some food. You turned it, you've eaten it, right? And then you've got some scraps left over. Normally it would go in the bin. You've lost that store of value straight away because you're binning it, right? And it's going out. It's actually becoming a horrible resource because it's going off to landfill and stuff. And hopefully it's going to be recycled, but not always. So if you can recycle it on site, turn it back into a soil, feed it to compost worms, feed it to chickens, things like that, hold that store of value, turn it back into food, and keep this recycled loop going, you are creating more value for yourself and for others around you. And if you really get really good at it, you can actually start selling food and things like that, like I have in the past, where I'm going, hang on, how do I make some money? Right, well, I know 3 restaurants down the road that'll buy, kilos of tomatoes off me every week, and basil and things like that, and I've just got to go to them 3. Might only be extra $100 a week, but I tell you what, sometimes $100 a week's pretty good, right? Anyway, let's look at this Pinball Wizard. Sorry to jump ship early, but that's me off to bed. It's 2 a.m. See you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day, mate. Off. See you later, Pinball Wizard. Thanks for just dropping in, man, and saying goodbye. Sleep tight. All right, let's keep on rolling here. We're talking about worm farming, composting, and so we're thinking about the worm farming, the composting, getting our stores of value that are moving through that we spent money on, recomposting it again, and then building soils. Now, If you're in a small space, we're talking about composting enough to put into pots and into containers and things like that. And so if you've got a small compost system or like the biggest worm farm ever, you can make your own fertilizers and things like that. Now, a biggest worm farm ever might be great for the worm space and a small space, but you can use a 3-tiered worm farm and make your own fertilizers and things like that. I've even seen Bale gardens hanged up on verandas, to tell you the truth, and working quite well. But I think that's a bit overkill. I think that's just someone trying to do that as an experiment. I think the containers that you're using, the water wells down the bottom that hold the water in the wicks, because you're putting your worm liquid down into that, and you're composting and putting your compost back on top of the pot plants, that's feeding and giving nutrients. Because when you're in a pot plant, what's happening is when you're putting the compost and the fertilizers and things on it and wetting it, that's releasing into the liquid, and then the plant uptakes it that way, and that's how it gets its nutrients. Where in the ground, where we're building soil profiles and microbiology, it's different. It's the microbiology that's actually feeding the plant, sharing the sugars, being a sharing through photosynthesis. So it's a little bit different. And my plan here is to build deep soils around this garden by building the soil profile up over time, and then making it so it drains much better. It's got a better structure, and then whenever I go to put anything in, a new fruit tree or build a new garden or anything like that, things just grow much quicker. And I build in square blocks. So I start in a square block in one space, as I am around the side of the house, and I call it my microbiology highway. So then I'll link it up. There'll be another row going out eventually off that, and so all the worms and everything can move through and follow along that little highway up under each bale, and then breed and successfully transfer the microbiology and the fungi and different mycorrhizae, things like that, will travel down the lines and come in from other directions because they're looking for that. They know the energy's there from the plants coming through and photosynthesizing and sending down the sugars, and it just starts. And it's like mathematics. It just goes. Once it starts going, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 6 is what, 32. Something. No, 16. 16. What's 16 times 16? Anyone know? Anyway, hopefully I'm getting something going in your head about thinking about different ways you can store value in your life so you can get ahead. And when we start understanding the storage of value and how we use our things and how we recycle and be more self-sufficient, you actually start, the way you think becomes different, and you do save a lot of money over time. Believe you me, you'd be really surprised. Clara Sarah, so inspiring, Marty. I'm in an apartment at the moment with a windy little balcony. But I literally look forward to having a garden and being able to grow lots of food. Yeah, so I just recommend, Claire, that you just do pot plants and look at your vertical space and stuff. I started off the Marty's Garden channel with apartment gardening homes, the website, and just grew on a little veranda. And yeah, you'd be surprised what you can do there. And just think about sort of like your pots in like square foot designs and vertical space, and you'd be surprised what you can do. So we've got here any recommendations of what food to try growing in a windy space. So a windy space is a bit of a tricky one because you're breaking up the heat and things like that. But like low crops, so just little leafy greens and spinaches and things, that would be more along the line. Or just like bring some things into near the window, like your garlic chives are a good one, and your spring onions and things. I just grow mine along near the window, and they do quite fine. So some little herbs and stuff like that, some mints and things. So low growing stuff that's sort of going to fall around and not grow up too high because it's going to get washed around in the wind. So, like little lettuces and little mini, like maybe even a little mini bok choy, give it a go and see what you think. The plants I've been growing happiest is mint. So yeah, have a look at those mint families. There's Vietnamese mint as well. You've got spearmint, and then you've got, different things. You could also build like little plastic greenhouse sort of thing and grow some basil up to about yay high. So you just put more basil seed in than you normally would, and you harvested it about that big. So start thinking about ways you can sort of block the wind as well by maybe a little little greenhouse or something that's not going to get blown over. Michael Bissett, grow lots of veggies, grow then grow tons of highly sought after plants and herbs that are always sold out at plant nurseries online. When you sell, buy Bitcoin. Yeah, and then you're transferring your value. So if you're into that type of thing, that's not a bad move to go. Like you turn that income into something that's become an asset and hang on to it. So that's taking it even to another level. So thanks, Michael, for sharing that. Claire, you're welcome. No problem. I'll look on my list here, just trying to help as much as we can. So the other thing would be, so we've spoken about stores of value, the money that we're spending, trying to recycle it and getting it back through using worm farming, composting, not throwing our waste away, which is money that we've already spent, putting it back in, understanding stores of value and hanging on to it and not disposing of it too quickly, and creating stores of value to sell as well. Like you might create, like I grew one cherry tomato plant last year. That cherry tomato plant made me about $400. One plant, and it grew around the outside of a biggest worm farm ever and the side of my compost, and man, it just went mental. Like it made me $100 a week for about $50 a week for about 8 weeks. And then I just got bored with it near the end, and I just stopped picking them because there were too many. And I was just, yeah, I wish I had the chickens just to throw it out and they would come through and feed it all off. But you can do that type of stuff when you've got amazing soils. You'd be surprised how quickly things grow. Like my neighbours had come past, and when I was moving, they were all grabbing all the soil because I was selling the stuff where I had it on site, and then I had some around the side of the house, and I was giving it away. And they were looking at the parsley, going, "Is that parsley?" I'm going, "Yeah, that's parsley." They're going, "Wow, can I have that when you go?" It was huge, these 4 big parsleys, and I just used to go out and pick a little bit of the fresh leaves off for salads, and then I would get the stems to cook like you would for stir fries and for spaghetti bolognese and things like that. And I just picked and harvested off those plants for about 2 years. So the next really good store of value, this is what I'm getting to, is creating something where you can actually plant something that will grow on and on and on, like a fruit tree or something like that. So you only have to plant it once you've got your soil good. It'll keep on giving. You just take care of it, and it'll keep giving and giving. And as long as you keep taking care of it, it'll go. And one of the ways we can do that is by going into the 2022 version of permaculture, right? Where we're sort of not growing these big food forest things, but we're thinking out of the box of creating something that actually creates an ecological balancing system. So we're getting the birds coming in, getting the bees coming in, we've got frogs around, we've got all the little predators living in the forest and little trees and things. We plant some little shrubs for birds and stuff. And so we're creating not so much like these food forests anymore, but spaces, this is how I've always done it, spaces that imitate away from monoculture. So we haven't got like 5 orange trees in a row where you get one orange tree gets sick, the disease just passes on from tree to tree to tree. We'll have something else beside it, another type of tree or something, could be a native something, and then could be an orange tree, and it might be another native something else, and an avocado or something like that. And then around the front it could be like some tomatoes and basil growing in a different row and things. So we're creating these systems that we're stepping away from monoculture and getting as close to we can to building up these places where the birds and insects love to come and hang out, right? And they're doing the work for you. No sprays or chemicals needed then. All right, and here we go. If I've missed anyone, and we will bring it into thing. Okay, here we go. Morning, Marty and Aussie Grow Show. G'day, mate. And Michael Bassett, Marty, I don't think of growing at the edge of compost worm piles. Great advice. Thank you. No worries. You can just think about it like this. Have you ever seen a tomato growing out and things growing out of your compost piles, how healthy they look? Just, gets you thinking, right? And so, yeah, you grow along the edges of them, you're composting at the same time. And in winter time, you can use those compostings heat to warm things up as well. But that's another probably another show sort of all in itself. Though people that come in late, if you're wondering what's happened to my nose here, hit by a surfboard. Not my surfboard, someone else. They kicked it out in front of me. An intermediate surfer, or beginner intermediate, speared me in the nose, 5 stitches, went to the bone, fractured nose. So here I am, still laughing away. Only happened not yesterday, day before, and spent half the day in hospital. But we're here, and got my cup of tea, saying g'day to you guys, and trying to help you out to get more self-sufficient, create stores of value, and get through these sort of inflationary times ahead. Because I think we all need to sort of grow a bit more food, whether it's just some basic herbs and things like that that we put into Italian dishes and stir fries. It can save quite a lot, as you know. It's $3-4 for one bunch of basil or something at the moment, and it's not even, for me, it's not enough. I have to buy 2 of those, and I've only got 2 of us living here, so I can imagine what it'd be like for a big family to buy some basil from the shop. Okay. And yes, we've got more people saying stuff. The good weather not far away. I'm excited. Let's hope so. I just looked at the long weather forecast. Looks like it's going to be cooler through the spring, but hopefully drier. So we'll keep on growing. We'll keep on growing and keep trying to make more food and just slowly extend out. But hasn't been a lot happening here, so I haven't really had a lot to sort of show everyone other than just doing a harvest. And to be honest, you know, I just don't really want to just get plants and harvest and show you how I'm making a salad. I want to sort of really dig in deep and things like this, and share sort of more stuff with you so you can sort of understand, because the store of value really is what it's about for myself and for many others at the moment. And if you can bless others around you at the same time that are struggling, you just bring some joy into their life that day. That's a big thing, I reckon. Claire Sarah, I thought when I saw it, it must have been a surfing accident. Yeah, it definitely wasn't anything else other than that. I've had some people say some other things, but yeah, it's definitely surfing. And Aussie Grow Show, you'd be surprised how I save on my herbs. Man, massive, absolutely massive. You really do now, especially more so these days. Michael Bassett, the best tomatoes overgrew is when I top dressed the bed with rabbit manure. I bet you those rabbits were very well fed then. So anyway, I'll get back to what I was talking about. So when we're building these garden spaces, we want to think away from monoculture. We want to think about creating these spaces where bad insects get confused. Good insects have got place to hide out for habitat, to hunt on the bad insects. Little birds and finches can come around. You want all these, you know, like if you can create a frog pond, even better. You know, you want the lizards sort of cruising around, and everything then just starts cleaning up all the pests. And when you've got good soil, so feed the soil, not the plants, and you're thinking like this for in the ground, then the plants become really, really healthy over time. So then we don't have to bring out sprays and pesticide things and stuff like that. Basically, a sick plant is attacked first in nature, by nature, for that exact reason. So the healthier we've got our plants. Now, if I find some sick plants or they're just not doing well, I bin them, I get rid of them. I just don't go with it. I don't fight it. I just let it go, unless I think I can solve the problem quite easily. And generally, I find I used to sit around about 10% loss, and now I sit around about 2% loss, which is really, really amazing. I haven't thrown anything out since we've started this one here. So that's been really cool. And when you got fruit trees and it's dropping extra fruit and stuff around, if you've got chickens, they'll come through and clean that all up and remove all the fruit fly and stuff. So we're creating these systems that just, you know, keep creating and giving more value. Or as my friend said before, ducks are easier to take care of, so they will do much the same thing. So we can look at the permaculture side of things and see how that works, and look at like older style permaculture, Bill Mollison and stuff like that. It's really more for about big farms and forests. Oh, excuse me, cup of tea. What we want to look at is how do we just create these habitats and things and build soil profiles and habitats for birds and animals. And then you're really fitting into permaculture along those lines of organics, as long as, you know, you can even have it in rows and stuff. And I've seen people, a lot of permaculturists now, they're actually going back to that way because they're going, it's just more efficient for them to create rows and stuff and then just walk up and down the row and collect and harvest, and walking through a food forest and going, oh, we get some up here. It's just really slow and cumbersome. So, yeah, that's another way. Right, let's have a look at what other people have got to say here. Michael Bassett. Best store of value in the garden is planting perennials. I came in late, Marty. Probably already covered that. No, well, I did talk about fruit trees, and the parsley, I think, is a biannual, so about 2-3 years. But yeah, things like that are definitely, I agree. And then you can plant underneath them annuals underneath the fruit trees as well. So if you've got small space, and I like to think that I've always got a small space and work out. And so I plant lots of annuals underneath fruit trees that have got shallow roots and things. And so like comfrey and different herbs and stuff and things that will spread around the garden. Try not to get too messy. I've made mistakes before of going too messy and then it gets out of control. And the plants are so healthy, you just can't keep up with them. My better leaf was one. I started off with one plant, ended up with 1,000. Now I've got to start again with those, but I won't. They just spread out like strawberries, and each plant created about 20 plants. So then you think of the math behind it over about 2 years, how many I had. And I was selling better leaf to a couple of high-end restaurants as well, for people who want to make wraps and use them to put on the plates and things. So it was a good crop actually to grow to sell, but the Australian market still doesn't really know about it so much. Right, so let's fire away with some questions here. We've been going for about 42 minutes. I know we've had some questions already and I've been answering them as I go. Normally we have it more towards the end, but happy to talk about anything to do with this subject or any questions that you may have related to growing food at home. You know, I really want to do my best to help you. I've been sort of not creating a lot of content on here because you know, a few different things. Some of that I don't want to sort of discuss everything here, but also the bad weather and work has been really sort of holding me up. So here we are today, and yeah, if you've got any questions about becoming more reliant, more self-sufficiency, building store of value, or something that you would like to share to others, then yeah, I'd love to hear from you, and we can pass on the knowledge into the community. If you've come in late and you're just looking at the nose, I've mentioned this a few times, surfing accident, hit by someone's surfboard and split me open to the bone, a few stitches, broken nose. So, but it's not too swollen, and I can breathe a bit better now. So let's go on here. Transition in Asia. Great content today, Marty. Very impressed. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you're getting something out of it, and then I can share my agricultural, horticultural, organics, knowledge with you all, and pass on some type of value for you to get started yourself. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. We can see if we can pull something up here. See if it comes up. So there you go. Right. Now, if we look at this Bale here, now the reason why I like Bales is if you can get them cheap, and sometimes, I'm paying $13 for mine, which is, I don't believe that's cheap anymore, but the store of value that I get from this Bale is amazing. So they cured the Bale, and then you can see some compost around the roots of the basil plant there, and he's planting it in. And so, and you're just throwing more compost sort of on top, and then they start growing, and the material's rotting down. And as I said, you put the worm farms around. So we'll go into the other one on the right-hand side here, have a look at that Bale garden, and you can see it now. Hopefully you can all see this well. It's really not easy to pull up this type of content onto thing without going through and extracting all these different images and resizing them and stuff. So hopefully you can see that okay. And you can see he's got like a zigzag sort of shape of a Bale garden and different leafy greens and things growing in there, and that's really cool. and I really like that. And you can see that once those they're finished those crops, they've got the poles. Well, they can grow peas, beans, tomatoes, anything that needs to climb in there next, because they're just pulling out those crops, eating those, and just planting back in and throwing a bit more compost in. The only thing I don't see is people doing like I do is I do a cold method where I'm just sort of layering on top and using the worms to sort of go through. You don't see many worm farming systems or a compost bin sort of on the edge of them, but maybe they are around and they just don't show you. So we can have a look at this. There's an early one getting started. That's a grass bale, and you can see grass popping through it, but you know, they've got different lettuces and stuff starting up there, and so that's really cool. Some nice big cabbages. Look at those. And I think there's potatoes in the back there, so you can do potatoes into those. And I think at the on the right corner looks like some cucumbers that be spilling down and growing over and things like that. So I think that's really, really awesome myself. And I just love the system. And hardly, because it's not trending at the moment, no one really hears about it too much. All right, so we'll go back to the questions here and we will fire away. I've just got a lot going on my screen at the moment, so I can see what's going on. It gets a bit crazy on this live system. I'll put that back, so that helps me. Okay, let's go here. Gary, any tips for small space city balconies for using limited space? Yeah, so you're thinking vertical space. You're also thinking like, so your vertical space is like your plant will be going up. So you've got a bottom canopy, a mid canopy, and a high canopy. So if you're growing a tomato at the top, you might have the bottom, a little parsley plant growing there, and that's at the bottom there. And the tomato will be shading that parsley down below. So you're thinking in levels, and you're thinking like in square meter gardening sort of style, but think about those levels. So you can have peas at the back, you know, that are holding the height up thing, and then you've got it growing down at an angle, so the light's coming in and you're taking care of that whole space. Using worm farming to create your liquids and things like that to feed your pot plants and stuff to save money that way in the long run. It costs you a bit over $100 to set up the worm farm, but once you're going, and you can learn everything here on this channel how to do that, you do save a lot. Okay, Claire, what are your thoughts on those tiny little grafted fruit trees? The grafted fruit trees, so you've got different ones. So basically a tree that's grafted is grafted onto a seedling that already has a root system that believes it's a tree. And then we're grabbing a certain part of a branch of a tree that's ready and the sap's right, and we're grafting it on. So then the tree eventually thinks it's a tree, but the first top of the branch actually believes it's a branch at the beginning. And so sometimes we can get problems with the tree thinking it's still a branch, and it grows a bit not properly. And so we prune it certain ways. And we have different sort of root structures underneath. So the small ones are usually called dwarf fruit trees, and they're very good in city gardens and things like that. If you've got a big open space, you really don't want one of those. You want a normal big tree that's going to grow a big root system. The bigger root system you got, the better the tree is going to grow. But in small spaces, those dwarf trees are really good because they don't get under, they don't lift up concrete and create all these other problems in pipes and things like that. And they won't grow a big massive tree that's going to take over some type of space and become invasive. So hopefully that helps answer that. First year gardening grandma. All right. Well, yeah, we've got some people coming in from watching from the Philippines today as well. They said they were going to say hello. So if you're still tuned in, g'day to you guys there. I think they're the first time coming in as well. It takes a village. My advice to myself next year, the plants are the thirsting ones. Next year will be placed closest to the water supply and then work out from there accordingly. Live and learn. Great tip. Always be close to your water supply and closer to your house and things like that, or where you are more often. You will garden more, you'll grow more, you'll look at it more, and you'll take better care of it. That's just how it works. So you start, that's why I'm building at the back of my house right near the stairs in that little space and extending out, because this is the space that I'm in the most. Michael Passett, the bales are going to rot anyway, and you get you get a deal on them when they are unsellable for livestock. Great tip. Yes, keep an eye open for those. I bought some that were wet. I didn't get a deal on them though, but I probably should have asked. Amazing growth in those bales, Marty. Yeah, they really are amazing once you get to learn how to do them. Now, they're doing hot composting bales with lots of nitrogen. I'm just wetting mine down. I'm putting like fertilizer on top, and then I'm covering them with compost, planting little plants, shallow rooted plants at first, and then adding more layers on top. And I just cut the plants off as I eat them. I leave the roots in there, introduce the worms, throw more compost in, plant plants with bigger root systems until eventually it's really rotting down and I've got a really good soil profile. It's a bit like a lasagna bed style almost. So yeah, you are very welcome, Gary, and thanks for coming in. Lance John Conlon, new recent sub, bit late, but definitely going to watch the replay. No worries, mate. Lots of value here, and thanks for dropping in. It's been great, Lance. Well worth checking out the replay. Well, thank you. As I said, it's been really quiet here. We've had a lot of rain. We've had floods and different things. My backyard was so wet. And yeah, it's been a bit slow moving forward, but we are getting there. And so I don't really have a release video like I had all the time. I just want to bring out something good that's really valuable. If I bring out something that's average, YouTube just goes, oh, and then all of a sudden my algorithm goes down a whole lot. So it's a whole different game here inside YouTube these days, and you need to bring lots of value to the game. So here I am, hopefully bringing lots of value to you guys, and passing on the knowledge so we can share and think alike about storing the value that's coming into our house and keeping it here and locking it here and trapping it here and using it over and over and over. Now, it's costing me a little bit to get started because I've started right from scratch again. I bought one worm farm, some gardening gear, and that's it. So I've had to go out and buy bales. I haven't bought compost in years, like years I'm talking about. And so that's been different for me. And kicking off new worm farms and breeding them all up again and starting from scratch. And it's been a bit slower than what I would like. Lance John Conlon recently bought a few $100s worth of seed and been collecting all seed from veggies we bought from the store. Another way of storing value. I know the only thing is seed takes a bit of time to do that, so it's a nice thing to do in the evenings. You're sitting down, watch a bit of Netflix or something after a meal, and you sit there together as friends and family or whatever, and just right, so this is done this way, and it's put into this bowl over here, it's stored over there, and it's done. And Karen and I used to do that, but she's a bit bored with doing. She gets bored with doing seeds these days. So anyway, I reckon it's awesome if you can do that, and I intend on saving some more seed again this year. A good store of value for sure, because one seed can create one plant that can create thousands of seeds again. So we think of it like that, and it's an amazing store of value. Thanks for describing the steps. You're very, very welcome. Claire, 100% valuable content is the way to go. Awesome conversation. Marty, well, thank you. And yeah, you've got good content. If you're into YouTubing and you sort of want to learn more, go and check out Claire's channel there and check it out. Yeah, she's got some videos coming out all the time and makes some good stuff. I think I might even still be in there somewhere if you have a bit of a hunt around. All right, so we've covered a lot of subjects today, like one big subject really, lots of little ones creating a one big one, and hopefully I've got you thinking about how you can, when your inputs are coming in from outside, saving them on your place no matter where you are, like in a small space, an apartment, it's going into a worm farm, you're creating the worm liquid, you're getting the worm cast out of it, and you're using that in your farm. Or you've got, like a smaller backyard and you're building garden beds, but you're not bringing in input all the time. You've got to slow up your inputs over time and, like from buying and then eventually start using everything that's on site. And that's when you start saving money. I'm still a bit away from that. I've probably got to buy another 100 bales in the next year or two, which I'll just do slowly over time and build out these systems. Okay, here we go. R&R Animal Rescue, Texas here. How to grow indoors without tons of grow lights. Trees, plants, veggies provide oxygen. Stay alive if CO2 is not enough outside. Oh, look, the window, look, if you've got to have a good space for the windows, basically in the right direction on the season to grow indoors without a lot of grow lights, then you've got to go plants that don't need a lot of light. Now, I just have my spring onions growing in my window. In summer, I grow kangkong in my window, which is an Asian climbing green spinach, and I grow some little herbs and things like that as well. I'll be able to do that in my kitchen again this year on 2 different windows because I face east and west. So that'll be really fun. And so other than that, I got rid of my grow lights. I'm just over them. I don't like them. I prefer to just grow outside. If I can't grow outside, I won't grow. But yeah, on windows is probably the best thing to do, I would say, to save money. And yeah, just use natural light and you're not spending. Claire Sarah. And think about the way you trap the light as well. Like some windows, you might be able to put like a white bit of cardboard or white board behind it. And so the light's coming through the window, it's hitting back off the white board. And all you do is slide it out and then harvest and slide it back in and trap all that light. And you'd be really surprised what you can grow. It even maybe even get too hot doing it like that. But food for thoughts, right? Especially the video of you, Marty. It's a great chat. Thank you, Claire. That's really nice. I'll be happy to go on again. I've got my other channel for those who surf is doing really great. And yeah, all my mistakes that I've made on Marty's Garden, I'm not doing there. And it's really taken off, that channel, the surfing one. All right, so we've got Michael Bissett. Lance, I need to join Seeds Anonymous group. Every winter I stay up late, order more seeds that I have space to grow. Yeah, but that's not a bad thing. Look, I got the same, man. I always have more seeds than I need. I think it's just something, if you're a gardener and you're really into it, it's better than having less, I believe. You can always give some away. Yeah, for anyone interested in watching that chat with Marty, it was all about how he's grown his YouTube channel. Really interesting. So much wisdom from Marty. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I probably shared more of my mistakes than the other side of the wisdoms, but I think that's how we learn and grow, right? That's John Conlon. Yeah, he might be heading a bit further west myself. I'm sure there will be plenty of people out who want got a house. Sorry, maybe they're chatting to someone else there, and I missed something. I saw an indoor herb window garden that made lots of recycled soft drink bottles with a recycled hydroponic grow system. They're really great. It comes from a guy named Van Kellum. I can't think of his name right at the moment. He was in Facebook for years, European guy, he's a professor. He invented the bottle garden, and then they turned into hydroponics and all different types of things. Willem van Cothem is his name, the bottle garden. Willem van Cothem, Cottem. And he invented that, and you can go and watch any of his videos on YouTube, the old ones. Look them up, the vertical bottle garden, Willem van Cottem, and or just type it into Google and it'll come up. So you've got these like soda bottles, or we call Coca-Cola soft drink bottles, all stacked on top of each other, and they're upside down, so the lid's facing down, and you just put a few holes in the lid and it fits in the next one, and you cut a hole in the side, and the plant spills out and grows over the side. And you have one right at the top, which is turned upside down. It's like a cup. You pour that in, it runs down, and all the plants fall outside. And then it spills down to the bottom in a bucket, and you put it back through. Some people have made little taps and little pumps and things like that, but you can do it by hand. And in front of a window is a really good way to do it. It was invented originally for down in Africa, you know, like in those parts where they had lots of these bottles lying around. They just put a bit of soil in them. All they needed was a seed, and they could grow food. And so he got a bit of hard flack about it when everyone started getting the plastics, but food grade plastic, and better to eat fresh food than crap food from a plastic bottle, right? So it made sense to me, and I always stood behind Willem before that, and he did some amazing things and helped people be able to grow food where they couldn't before. And the window garden sort of sprung from that, and you can look it up, plastic bottle window gardens, and build them really cheaply, really cheap, because you're just recycling. You just need a bit of compost, basically. All right, Dad's amazing adventures. Marty, hope your nose is feeling better, mate. Greetings from Asia. Yes, and you've been sending videos from outside of planes and all types of stuff. And as you know, I'm a man who loves Asia as well and hoping to get back soon. So all the best with everything there, Dad. And, well, not my dad, but Dad's amazing adventures. And God bless you too, my friend. Travel safe. And hopefully I will be getting back into Southeast Asia in the very near future if all goes well. I was supposed to fly out to the Philippines just around the time of the typhoon. When I was getting on the plane, the typhoon was about to happen and I had to cancel everything. So haven't been able to go visit go and visit some friends and do some things over there. Okay, so any more questions, guys? We can fire away. We've been going just over an hour and we normally run for about an hour, a little bit more. So happy to answer a couple more questions, or if you've got something that you'd like to say before we go. Normally when we go through, we have some of these little things. We didn't have any of that stuff today going on, but a bit of fun. But we will have the theme song as we head out. And what normally we do is everyone says goodbye to everyone. You can say goodbye to me. I drag the text across for people to see. And and we just slowly move out of the live show. Now, if you come in late, watch the rerun. You can learn a lot about setting up systems, storing the value from the inputs coming from the outside and keeping it in your place so you save that money and you don't lose that again. We create this recycled loop over and over, and how you can save a lot of money. And as I was saying at the beginning, I'm a low income earner and I'm not on any type of benefit or anything like that. And, that's how I've pulled it off. And you can do it too, maybe even better than me, because you probably got more help than just two hands like myself. One day I'll get some more hands. What's with the nose? Surfboard accident, someone ran me over, broke my nose, unfortunately. It was pretty sad. But let's put on some music and we will head off into the internet cosmos or whatever going on with the day.
The sun is warm, there's a gentle breeze.
Hear me?
All the birds are
Great
making
song, love this
inside
song.
the evergreens.
I'll drag this across, say goodbye.
With our loved ones close,
head out there.
you can pick out every star without a telescope. So beautiful to see how we have changed. In time, everything we've lost comes home again, and I will grab onto your arm a little stronger than we were before. I've missed your face. Has it been that long? Looking forward to a fire and a sing-along. Let's stay the same as the children grow, and teach them all the simple things we thought we used to know. So beautiful to see how we have changed. In time, everything we've lost comes home again, and I will grab onto your arm a little stronger than we were before. In a world, in a day, we're all brand new, and it's love that we're fighting for. I'm proud, that we always held out hope. So if you grab onto my arm, let's take a walk until the sun gets warm. In time,
How awesome is that song? We grow a little bit stronger than we were before. And that's why this song is the theme song for this channel. And I just love you all. I thank you so much for coming in and watching me, checking out all my videos, supporting me over the years for such a long time. Marty's Garden's been going for 13 years now, believe it or not. And every time I make a video, I do love it, but sometimes I find it really hard getting in front of the camera lately. That's the honest truth, in this bad weather and everything like that. And it's been a bit of a depressing couple of years with the floods, and we had bushfires and everything before that. Now we've got recession, but we've got to come out stronger than we were before, and we can do that by following these methods and storing the value into our land and our space and our place. Have a great day. Happy everything, and we'll see you at the next video real soon, hopefully. Bye for now.